Well, thank you for the introduction, Roberta. It's been wonderful working with you over these years with Jana and just to see where Plato has gone from where it was has just been really rewarding. So I appreciate the opportunity to be here. And as Roberta said, I'm a classroom teacher, so I teach intro to philosophy. I've been doing that for 14 years. And next year is my final year of classroom teaching, believe it or not.
Wow.
And it's been a great long career. It'll be 33 years, but I'm definitely ready to just do some different things. And today actually, one of the things I'm planning to do when I leave classroom teaching is to continue my journey through my love of philosophy and doing conversations. I mean, that's kind of a lot of what we do as philosophers is have conversations. I mean, it's a lot of what our subject is all about. And my twin brother and I have a passion for that. And about 7 years ago, we started this organization called Teach Different, which was really just a way to have more philosophical conversations. There's a backstory, an origin story to it. Rather than maybe doing that on this particular call, what I will do before this is out, and please remind me, somebody, I'll drop in the link to the blog that I wrote with Roberta in November, and you guys can read about the backstory of Teach Different. But in a nutshell, Teach Different has been something that my brother and I have created. As at first it started as a way to just help teachers do more classroom conversations in ways that are meaningful, critical thinking, social emotional learning, inquiry, all the wonderful things that philosophy conversations give us. As we've developed farther with Teach Different, though, we're realizing that adults need it just as much as students to have better conversations, more civil conversations. And so what's happened with Teach Different is the method that we're going to be experiencing tonight is now used as much in an adult community setting as it is in a classroom setting, which is pretty cool. It's very versatile in that way. And so I mean, at some point, I'd love to just see what your guys' situations are, so you can kind of, when you learn this, see where it might plug into what you do. But its versatility hopefully is something that's very beneficial. Okay, well that's an introduction essentially of what Teach Different is and what we're doing. And I just like to kind of jump into what the method is. I mean, what is this thing that we introduced 7 or 8 years ago that's now kind of moving forward and taking off a bit. So how about, can I just mind if I take the screen, Roberta or Karen, to share? I'll send a request, and I'll just, there you go. Okay. All right, everybody see that? Awesome. All right, so the method is based on a quote. It sounds simple, but a good, profound philosophical quote is what we found starts philosophical conversations in a very, very deep and meaningful way. And so really the entire experience here, if you think of your own setting, well, since we only, like Mark and Chris, could you just kind of share what your setting is, your educational setting?
I'm a high school teacher as well. And I teach AP economics to seniors and juniors, mainly seniors. I teach world history to freshmen, and I developed a course myself called Ethics and the Art of Thinking, and it's a one
Wow,
semester intro to philosophy course. Um, so you know, I'm loving it, and I'll probably be using this mainly in that capacity, I think.
thank you.
And I'm Chris, and I coordinate the Northern California High School Ethics Bowl competition. And I'm also currently working on a project with the Exploratorium Museum in San Francisco, where we'll have exhibits around issues in like AI and philosophy of mind. And so we're going to work with I guess we're gonna have like discussion facilitators at the museum. And so I look forward to maybe picking up some good tips from you.
Great, great. Okay, awesome. So good. Just between you two, you have a variety of contexts. So that's really good. And hopefully when you learn this, you can see how it may be applicable. Uh, as I said, kids and adults. So a quote is at the heart of this. And I'm going to share the quote we're going to discuss today right here. And I didn't know much about Christian Morgenstern. And embarrassingly, I can't remember where I found this quote, but I found it about a month ago, and we used it in a Teach Different conversation, actually, with a state representative who was doing a constituent event. I know her pretty well, and she said, you know, Dan, I love this method. I want to introduce the idea of homelessness in our communities. Can you figure out maybe a quote that might get people thinking deeply and philosophically about homelessness? And so that was kind of my inspiration. And I landed on this. Never heard of him before. I don't know if you guys have. He was a German essayist. He was a poet in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And this quote was riveting when I saw it. It made me immediately start thinking critically from different perspectives. And I had all these questions banging around in my brain about what does he mean by this? And what could this possibly mean? And what does it mean to me? And so with this method, the key is to get a quote that is short and provocative. You don't want a long paragraph because you want it to be digestible and to get people analyzing it in a way where there's not a ton of moving parts, if that makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts just in this short one here, but the longer it is, the more it's open to being a little too confusing. So anyway, short, provocative is the key. Okay. And by the way, interrupt with questions, please. I've been teaching all day. I'd love if you guys can just whenever. All right, this is the pyramid that we share with people conceptually so they understand the moving parts of the method. You got the quote on the left, the author on the right. What we're going to do in the conversation is we're going to start by figuring out what is this quote saying? What is Morgenson saying? Again, not your opinion at first about what you think home is, but what is another person who's outside the room trying to say it is in your own words. And I bring this up because it's very subtle, but it's really important. So hard to have civil dialogue these days. And one of the nice parts about this method is that because you bring in a quote from someone who's not in the room, the discussion immediately has a safety to it that you don't have when kids are just sharing opinions with each other about what they think. You're collectively in a community trying to describe what someone else is saying. So it's subtle, but it sets a nice tone. So we're going to look at the claim, and then the critical thinking arm of this is we're going to be looking at the counterclaim. What is a way to push back on what Christian Morgenstern is saying? What's another way to look at the world that is equally valuable, that can be substantiated with evidence and thinking? And this is where, you know, Mark, you mentioned ethics. I'm right in the middle of ethics right now in my own class. I have them duty ethics, utilitarianism, egoism. I got all these different ways of looking at the world. We're using this method to develop those skills of being able to see things from different perspectives. And then the last part is the inquiry part. It's typically organic once you've done it a while, where the students or adults, they start asking questions about what they think the quote means. You create a purposeful state of delight, confusion over what it means with the counterclaim. And what that does is start activating the inquiry juices. And then the questions start flowing. And there's nothing better in a classroom or an adult setting, whenever, when the participants are asking questions. And that's hopefully what this philosophical quote inspires. Okay, I'm going to stop there. That's conceptual. That's the method. Does anybody have any questions before we jump in?